There are 3 unspoken rules on Krasna 4. First, don't swim in the thermal lakes unless you want to be boiled alive by affectionate algae. Second, never trust a slick merchant smile. And third, perhaps most important, don't enter the pit uninvited. The pit was not a location. It wasn't a place you visited with a travel visa and sunscreen. It was a tradition, a rite, a circle of jagged stone at the edge of a former lava vent, still smouldering faintly, sacred in its silence and terrifying in its purpose. Only 2 things ever entered the pit: a challenger and a reminder of why that was a bad idea. Today the challenger was 8 feet tall, covered in plated crimson scales, and pulsing with something that smelled like confidence and sulfur. His name was Threnix, devourer of Khaldun, apex of the Vakar. His entrance was marked by the sound of bones cracking, not his own. "Let the weak tremble," Threnix bellowed, stomping into the arena. "I have come for the human." At the edge of the crowd, holding a cup of something suspiciously purple and caffeinated, was the human in question. "Yeah, that's me," said Juno Cross, stepping forward. She was wearing cargo pants, a patched-up pressure vest, and a shirt that read, "Sorry for the inconvenience. I'm just better than you." She didn't look like a warrior. She looked like someone who fixed starship toilets and charged extra if you tried to help. But the crowd stepped back. They had heard stories, the kind of stories that started with laughter and ended with blood. "I do not kill the weak," Threnix growled, stepping closer, "but I will break you. Slowly, loudly, in front of your kind." Juno sipped her drink, squinting. "You're a screamer, aren't you?" Threnix paused. Not because he didn't understand. His translator implant worked fine. But because he didn't expect her to sound so bored. This was not how challengers were supposed to act. They were supposed to puff their chests, chant about honor, maybe cry a little before losing teeth. Juno stepped into the pit. The stone hissed beneath her boots. The wind died. Even the algae in the boiling lake nearby seemed to stop bubbling. Threnix let out a guttural snarl that echoed like a thunderclap. "I will show you pain, human." Juno stretched her arms behind her head, yawned and said, "Cool." I needed a warm-up anyway. There was no bell, no countdown, just Threnix lunging like a meteor with teeth. The first strike would have vaporized most beings, not Juno. She ducked, not dramatically, not acrobatically, just casually, like someone dodging a slow-moving ceiling fan. Threx's claw smashed into the obsidian behind her, sending shards flying. The crowd gasped. Juno frowned. "That your opening move? You should have stuck to roaring." Threnix whirled, eyes glowing. He struck again. A swipe, a backhand, a tail whip laced with spikes. Juno dodged them all, not with speed, but with something worse. Prediction. She moved like she'd seen it before, like she'd fought something scarier yesterday and was just humoring him now. Threnix roared and charged. She stepped aside. He skidded, stumbled, corrected, and growled louder. "Fight me properly," he snapped. Juno tilted her head. "You mean stop making you look stupid?" His eyes flared. "I am Apex." "Uh-huh, and I'm lactose intolerant. We all carry burdens." That's when it happened. He lunged, too far, and Juno spun. Her elbow slammed into the side of his jaw with a sickening crunch. A half-second later, Threnix was sprawled in the dirt. The crowd gasped. So did Threnix. He touched his face. Blood. His blood. From a human's elbow. Juno didn't follow up. She just stood there, hands on her hips, as if waiting for a taxi. "You done?" she asked. "Because my drink's getting warm." Threnix rose slowly, breathing heavy. His pride was cracked, and so was his jaw. But more than that, something ancient tickled the base of his predator brain. Fear. The kind of fear predators don't feel often. The kind that doesn't shout. It whispers. It says, "This is not prey. This is something worse." "I was told you were weak," Threnix growled, spitting a tooth. "Yeah, People say dumb things when they're overconfident and underinformed. Juno turned to leave the pit. The crowd parted without a word. Threnix didn't chase her, not because he couldn't, because he didn't dare. Not after what he saw in her eyes, not after what he didn't see. Rage, hatred, fear, anything. Just calm, just discipline, just someone who had done this before. A lot. Later, someone asked Juno what she thought of Threnix. She shrugged. Strong, fast, big fan of screaming, but he was never going to win. Why not? Because he came looking to prove something, she said, finishing her drink. I came looking to stretch. You humiliated him. Juno glanced up from her datapad. She was back at the station cantina, sipping a violently green drink that fizzed like it wanted to escape. The room was quieter than usual. Eyes followed her, not with curiosity, but the way civilians might eye a weapon that hadn't been holstered. I didn't humiliate him, she said. He did that himself. I just helped him find the mirror. The speaker was a slim alien with bioluminescent stripes along his jaw. Kalo, a diplomatic observer from the Cathani species, and one of the few on this dust ball who didn't seem terrified of humans. Yet. You cracked Threx's mandible, he said. Do you know how many beings have ever done that? Juno raised her brow. I don't know. Do you keep a scoreboard for that sort of thing? Kalo didn't laugh. 3. One of them's extinct. The other joined a monastery. She stirred her drink with the straw, unimpressed. Guess I'll avoid monasteries for now. Kalo leaned in, voice lowered. He's going to retaliate. Or worse, someone else will. You embarrassed the Vakar caste. Juno finally looked up. They came to the pit to flex. I reminded them why Earth doesn't compete in galactic war games. We play for different stakes. You don't seem worried. I'm not. Why? She finished her drink in one long pull, slammed the cup down and said, because they still think this was about dominance. In the desert outside the outpost, the ground trembled. A dropship landed like a declaration. 4 more Vakar stepped out. They weren't challengers. They were cleansers. Silent, armored, and carrying obsidian-bladed staves that whispered through the air like guillotines looking for a neck. Threnix, wrapped in bandages and humiliation, stood beside them with a limp. She mocked our trial, he spat. We reclaim honor with silence. The squad leader, a Vakar female with 3 vertical scars across her eye ridge, nodded. Earth will learn its place. Back in her quarters, Juno was brushing her teeth. The station's AI chimed. Unidentified Vakar combat party approaching. They are not responding to hails. She spat into the sink. So it's that kind of Thursday. She dried her face, grabbed her jacket, and slung the emergency kit over her shoulder. As she strapped on her boots, she opened a side drawer. Inside it was a single object, a dull, scratched-up medallion the size of a fist, the emblem of Earth's deep contingency corps. You didn't get it for joining. You got it for walking away from something no one else survived. Juno stared at it a moment, then shut the drawer and stood. Time to explain things the loud way. The cantina cleared fast when the Vakar stormed in. 4 apex warriors, 4 spears. No words. Juno stood at the bar, back turned, finishing a sandwich. You know, she said, chewing, it's considered polite to knock before threatening someone. No one laughed. Except her. Threnix limped in behind them, hatred burning in his eyes. This time you fall. Juno didn't even turn around. Threnix, you really want your people watching you lose twice, he growled. I will not fight you. They will. She nodded slowly, finally turning. Of course. You brought backup. Classic coward move. Very dignified. The squad leader stepped forward. By Vakar right, we are sanctioned to erase your insult. Prepare. Juno rolled her neck, then walked toward them. Slow. Calm. Like a wave that hadn't reached the shore yet. You think this is about pride, she said. You think humans fight for honor. She stepped right into the center of their formation. We fight when the fight comes looking for us. And when it does, she flicked something on her wrist. The lights dimmed. The room's security systems, unseen till now, activated. Laser dots marked every warrior's neck, chest, knee, and eye. Juno whispered, "We don't fight fair. We fight to win." The Vakar were elite, but even elite doesn't mean prepared for everything. The room erupted into chaos. One Vakar went down with a shoulder shot before he could move. Juno kicked a second's knee backwards and disarmed his spear mid-spin. The third lunged, got tasered mid-air by a defense drone from above. The squad leader actually landed a strike, glancing off Juno's forearm, but she didn't even flinch. Instead, she countered with a flash grenade from her kit. A boom of white, a scream, and when the light faded, the only one standing was Juno, breathing steady, expression unreadable. She looked at Threnix. He looked at the floor. "Next time," she said, "don't bring warriors to a tactician's fight." Later, Kalo sat beside her at the repair bay, watching medics drag away the unconscious Vakar. "You could have killed them." "Yeah," Juno said, sipping water, "but that would have sent the wrong message." Kalo frowned. "Which is?" "That we're dangerous." She turned to look at him, eyes sharp. "We're not dangerous. We're prepared. That's scarier." Kalo swallowed. He wasn't sure if he admired her or feared her. Maybe both. In a quiet message sent back to Earth, Juno typed, "Subject, encounter summary. Vakar tested our boundaries, reinforced our reputation. No further action required. Station secure. Situation, educational." She paused, then added, "P.S. Recommend sending more sandwiches. Local cuisine still tastes like regret. There's a saying among traders, if it happens on a fringe outpost and no one records it, did it really happen?" Unfortunately for Threnix and the pride of the Vakar, a dozen cameras, 3 drones, and an over-eager alien vlogger named Splick made sure that every second of the encounter reached the galactic net within the hour. By sunrise, the footage had been viewed over 47 million times across 6 sectors. The title, "Human Casually Folds 4 Apex Killers Like Laundry." It only got worse from there. Kalo stood in front of Juno's quarters, holding a data slate with a look of existential dread. "You've gone viral," he said. Juno groaned from inside. "Please tell me it's not the sandwich comment." Number worse. Someone remixed the fight into a dubstep battle track. It's trending on Vaughntalk under #HumanHammer. She opened the door, still brushing her hair. "I liked it better when people ignored us." Kalo looked up at her. "You don't understand what this means, do you?" She raised an eyebrow. "It means I'll be asked for autographs by people who don't have hands." "No," he said, voice serious. "It means you've just changed the game." On the capital moon of the Vakar Dominion, generals gathered, not in rage, but in calculation. "She defeated 4 warriors without lethal force," one grunted, watching the footage frame by frame. "She used drones, environmental control, predictive counters." "She embarrassed us," another snapped, "with precision." "She sent a message," the oldest of them said, "and the message is not 'don't fight us.' It's worse." They turned. The elder stared at the replay, pausing on Juno's face, expression flat, movements measured. "She told us, 'You are predictable. We are not.'" No one replied, because they couldn't argue with that. Meanwhile, on Earth, a group of teenagers reenacted the fight in VR. A government agency updated its galactic threat profile and upgraded Juno from field agent to cultural weapon. And 3 different alien governments sent encrypted messages that boiled down to one desperate question. "Do you sell training?" Earth didn't reply. Not because they didn't want to, because they didn't need. At the station, Juno was trying to enjoy 5 uninterrupted minutes with a sandwich and a book. Didn't happen. "Captain," came the AI's voice, "you have visitors." She sighed. "I don't take interviews." They are not journalists. She stood, adjusting her vest. Diplomats? Worse. The door opened, revealing a group of species she recognized from intelligence briefings. One Qunari tactician, 2 Zarneth duelists, and, at the back, a mature predator wearing ceremonial bone armor. All with one thing in common. They looked at her like a puzzle, a challenge. She didn't blink. This isn't a meet and greet. The Qunari stepped forward, bowed. We request sparring rights under the banner of mutual cultural enlightenment. Juno blinked. You want to fight? Yes. For enlightenment? Yes. She tilted her head. Did any of you bring snacks? Enlightenment works better with snacks. The Zarneth twins exchanged a glance. The Mator grunted. We brought only challenge. Juno sighed. Right. Fine. Let's get this over with. The second fight was different. Not brutal, not sloppy. It was respectful. Each of the new challengers approached with poise. Tact. They wanted to test her, not kill her. Juno obliged, and beat them. All. Without injuries, without humiliation. Just proof. Proof that humans weren't dominant because they were violent. They were dominant because they adapted. After the session, the mature predator approached her. One tusk chipped, breathing heavy. You are not predator. Juno blinked. Thanks. You are not prey. I'd really prefer if this didn't become a weird metaphor. You are other. She paused, then gave him a half smile. That's the idea. In a conference chamber 12 systems away, the Council of Unified Species held an emergency session. They weren't sure what was worse, that a human had just bested the best, or that she made it look casual. The Vex ambassador scowled. This is why humans should have remained a quarantined species. A dozen others nodded, but one old diplomat, eyes like dying stars, voice like wind through history, simply chuckled. You all still think this is about a woman, he said. It's not. They turned. It's about a lesson. What lesson? He tapped the screen. On it, Juno Cross, sipping water, laughing with Kalo, completely unaware her face was now etched into galactic memory. They've learned to fight like us. We haven't learned to think like them. He stood. And until we do, we'll always lose. The meeting was classified, unlogged, and strictly invitation only. Not even the Galactic Press Corps knew it was happening, which was impressive, considering their drones could sniff out a closed-door summit through 5 meters of neutron shielding and 3 decoys wearing trench coats. The invitees were hand-picked, species with power, paranoia, and a recent bruising from humanity's, let's call it presence. They called themselves the Alliance of Strategic Oversight. Everyone else just called them the nervous ones. The Vex ambassador started things off, naturally. The human is a symbol, he growled, not just of aggression, but of adaptability. They learn fast, they don't follow rules, and now, thanks to the galactic net, they have followers. The Zorathi financial minister nodded. We've seen a spike in trade agreements with Earth sectors. Even some of our own traders are defecting, saying Earth offers freedom of innovation, which I believe is human code for do crimes creatively. The room hummed with uncomfortable agreement. Humans fight, adapt, charm, infiltrate. They're chaos with a smile, muttered one diplomat from the crystalline Olithx race. They're deathworlders, someone whispered. No, said the Qunari general in the corner. Worse, they're deathworlders with sarcasm. Everyone shuddered. It was decided. Earth was no longer just a rising player. They were a wild card, and wild cards historically got eliminated early in galactic politics. Back on Outpost Theta 19, Juno Cross was elbow-deep in a malfunctioning vending unit that kept giving her fizzy root water instead of caffeinated jet brew. You're using a wrench on a touchscreen, Kalo observed from behind her. Juno grunted. Because it made a sound like Tiesk when I pressed the button. That's a SAS penalty. Kalo sat on a crate, checking his datapad. You've got invitations to 3 military academies, 2 assassination guilds, and 1 strange cult that claims you're the reincarnation of a war goddess. She kept working. There's a coalition forming, quiet, powerful, and afraid. You made Earth visible. Now they think they have to strike before humans become something unmanageable. Juno leaned back against the vending machine. It beeped and spat out a lukewarm soda in surrender. She caught it one-handed. I didn't ask for this, she muttered. Number but, you lit the match. The attack came 2 days later. Subtle. First, the comm relays went dark. Then the station's supply drops vanished. Then, an unmarked vessel arrived, claiming to be a routine inspection ship, except it had disruption-class weaponry welded under civilian panels, and its crew wasn't from any single species. They were handpicked from several, which meant this wasn't a border patrol. It was a covert hit, and Juno Cross was the target. Emergency lockdown initiated. The station's lights turned red as the first plasma round slammed into the outer ring. Juno grabbed her coat, again, the good one, with reinforced seams and extra snack pockets, and sprinted toward the armory. Kalo met her halfway, clutching a small case. They're trying to make it look like a systems failure, he said. But I traced the signal. It's a kill-op, Juno. Someone funded this. She popped open the case. Inside, the same medallion she didn't wear before. This time, she strapped it to her chest and smiled. Let's return the investment. The attackers breached the lower hangar, expecting chaos. They found a message, spray-painted in black on the wall. You came to fight a human. You brought tactics. I brought spite. Then the floor exploded. Juno had rerouted the fuel lines, redirected security drones, rewired the fire suppression to flood the chamber with flashbangs and supercooled air bursts. It was a war zone built with vending machine parts, discarded tech, and whatever spite-fueled genius Earth trained into its Black Ops soldiers. She didn't kill them. She outed them. Sent video logs to every neutral faction showing the hit team's composition, their fake IDs, the cloaked vessel, even the bribe logs from 3 alien banks. She exposed the whole thing like a magician revealing all the cards. Only in this case, the rabbit was holding a legal subpoena. And then she broadcast a single statement. Her face on every channel. Calm, cold, measured. To those who fear humanity, you should. Not because we're violent, but because you still think violence is our worst weapon. You haven't seen what happens when we fight with ideas, or worse, with lawyers. In the following days, the alliance fractured. One species sued the others for dragging them into the plot. Another claimed diplomatic ignorance and offered Earth full trade rights. One just rage-quit the alliance and joined the Galactic Peace Choir. Earth? Earth didn't retaliate, didn't need to. They just updated the tourism slogan, Earth, come for the chaos. Stay because your credit line got hacked. Juno sat back at her desk, sipping a proper jet brew, finally fixed. Kalo looked at her like one does a friendly storm cloud. You keep saying you're not trying to make a statement, he said. She smiled. I'm not. I'm just being human. Which, apparently, is worse. Exactly. Every species has its own version of a warning sign. For the Vakar, it's a curled claw. For the Vex, a pause mid-sentence. For the Olitheks, it's a shimmer in the crystal core. For humans, it was silence. And now, whenever Earth entered a room, silence followed. The galactic net still played the fight clips, but the tone changed. No more joke remixes, no more viral stomp compilations. Now, it was analysis. Military think tanks broke down Juno's posture. Diplomatic academies dissected her speech patterns. Intelligence agencies began studying Earth's behavioral asymmetry. Translation: they were trying to figure out how to predict humans. They failed. Because humans didn't follow patterns. They broke them. On Outpost Theta 19, Juno Cross finally got a moment of peace. No alarms, no ambassadors, No random alien duelists with ceremonial excuses. Just her sandwich, and Kalo, quietly recalibrating the AI's sarcasm filter. "Did you hear?" he said casually. "I never hear. I absorb through osmosis," Juno replied. "The Vakar High Council just labeled Earth a Tier 0 threat." She frowned. Z0? Isn't that below Tier 1? "It's new. They created it because nothing else fit. You're the first and only entry." She took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. "Kinda flattering." The subtitle says, "Entities known to subvert causality through reckless innovation, cultural contamination, and raw confidence." She grinned. "Sounds about right." Kalo leaned forward. "Juno, you've changed things." She shrugged. "Earth just reminded the galaxy of something important." "What?" She leaned back, gaze distant. "That apex predators don't always roar." Elsewhere, in a high-orbit conference room draped in velvet grav tapestries, diplomats convened again. This time, the topic wasn't war. It was adaptation. A new species had just petitioned to ally with Earth, citing humanity's flexible ethics and commendable stubbornness as key cultural values. Another species submitted a trade deal exclusively in memes. Yet another sent an ambassador wearing a hoodie that read, "I survived humanity's attention." The cultural tide had turned. Earth wasn't feared like a warlord. They were respected like a chaotic older sibling who once set the house on fire but somehow fixed the wiring better afterward. Juno received a new assignment. Earth Command called it the Whisper Mission. Objective: attend a peace summit. Cover: observer. Instructions: say nothing unless provoked. Her presence alone caused 3 species to drop negotiations and agree instantly. One diplomat later confessed under truth serum, "We saw her sipping tea. And we realized, if she's relaxed, someone else is about to suffer." Back on Theta 19, Juno walked the halls without fanfare. Aliens nodded respectfully. Some even bowed slightly, not in fear, in recognition. They had seen something no apex beast ever taught them. That true dominance isn't teeth or claws. It's control. Control of self, of narrative, of reputation. And humans. They wielded all 3 like artists painting war in watercolor. As she passed a new recruit from the Quellan species, he looked up and asked nervously, "Ma'am, are all humans like you?" Juno paused, smiled just slightly. "Number, I'm considered well-adjusted." The recruit fainted. Later, as Earth Command reviewed the reports, one admiral looked at the data logs and shook his head. "All of this started with a roar." Another replied, "No. It started with how she didn't flinch." They all nodded, then added her name to the official lexicon: cross effect, the exponential rise of chaos, respect, and cultural anxiety following unexpected human calmness. Final log entry from Kalo. She never asked for this, never chased glory, but every time the galaxy underestimated her, she didn't respond with rage. She responded with precision. And now, the apex predators don't roar near humans anymore. They walk carefully, avoid eye contact, and limp.